Nearly 10,000 migrants a day. That is what federal officials say they are encountering at the U.S. southern border.
We'll build the wall, but who's going to pay for the wall?
Dust swirls around exhausted faces, a desperate scramble across unforgiving terrain. This isn't a scene from a dystopian movie, it's the reality unfolding at the U.S. Mexico border. Labeled a crisis, a flood, an invasion, the situation demands a closer look. Beyond the shouting headlines, there are human stories, a complex situation with deep roots. Is it a national security threat or a desperate plea for safety? The crisis at the U.S. southern border is one of the most pressing issues facing the country today. It has far-reaching implications that go beyond the immediate border region, impacting cities and states far removed from the actual physical boundary. As the country heads towards the next presidential election, this issue has become a major point of contention among politicians, policymakers, and the public. The complexities of the situation are profound, involving not only immigration policy, but also humanitarian concerns, economic factors, and national security issues. The historical context of the border crisis is essential to understanding its current state. For decades, the United States has grappled with immigration challenges, oscillating between periods of openness and restriction. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, for example, marked a significant shift in U.S. immigration policy, abolishing previous quotas based on national origin and promoting family reunification and skilled immigrants. However, illegal immigration has remained a persistent issue, with various administrations attempting different strategies to manage it. In the Rio Grande Valley, which is one of the busiest sectors for border crossings, the experiences of migrants highlight the human aspect of this crisis. Many migrants undertake perilous journeys, facing numerous dangers in their bid to reach the United States. They come from various countries, primarily in Central America, fleeing violence, poverty, and political instability. Upon arrival, they often find themselves in overcrowded detention centers, facing uncertainty about their future. The conditions in these centers have been widely criticized, with reports of inadequate healthcare, insufficient food, and poor sanitation. The stories of individual migrants underscore the desperation driving these journeys. Families often sell all their belongings to pay for the trip, hoping for a chance at a better life. Along the way, they may encounter smugglers who exploit them, demanding additional money or subjecting them to violence. Women and children are particularly vulnerable, facing the threat of sexual abuse and trafficking. Despite these risks, the hope for safety and opportunity in the United States propels them forward. The policy responses to the border crisis have varied significantly between administrations, reflecting broader political ideologies. The previous administration took a hardline approach, emphasizing border security and implementing policies such as family separations and the Remain in Mexico program, which required asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their cases were processed. These measures were highly controversial and drew criticism from human rights organizations and international bodies. The administration argued that such policies were necessary to deter illegal immigration and ensure national security. In contrast, the current administration has sought to balance border security with humanitarian concerns. Efforts have been made to end family separations and improve conditions in detention centers. There have also been attempts to address the root causes of migration by increasing aid to Central American countries to improve economic conditions and reduce violence. However, these efforts have faced challenges, including legal battles, political opposition, and logistical difficulties. The debate over immigration policy remains deeply polarized, with strong opinions on both sides. Border states like Texas, Arizona, and California are at the forefront of dealing with the immediate impacts of the crisis. These states have seen a significant increase in the number of migrants, leading to overcrowded shelters, increased demand for social services, and heightened tensions in some communities. Local governments and non-profit organizations have had to step up to provide assistance, often with limited resources. The economic impact is also significant, with both costs and benefits. While managing the influx of migrants can strain public resources, immigrants also contribute to the local economy through labor, consumption, and entrepreneurship. In cities like El Paso, Texas, and Tucson, Arizona, the influx of migrants has led to the creation of networks of support involving local governments, religious groups, and non-profit organizations. These networks provide food, shelter, medical care, and legal assistance to migrants. Despite these efforts, challenges persist. Overcrowding in shelters and detention centers can lead to the spread of diseases, and the constant influx of new arrivals makes it difficult to provide consistent support. National security is a major concern in the context of the border crisis. While the majority of migrants are seeking better lives, there are fears that lax border controls could allow criminals and potentially terrorists to enter the country. This has led to calls for stronger border security measures, including the completion of the border wall, increased funding for Border Patrol agents, and the use of advanced technology for surveillance. The debate over national security versus humanitarian concerns is complex, with arguments on both sides. Proponents of stricter border security argue that it is essential to protect the country from potential threats. They advocate for measures such as biometric screening, real-time data sharing between agencies, and increased patrolling of the border. On the other hand, critics argue that these measures can lead to human rights violations and may not effectively address the root causes of migration. They advocate for comprehensive immigration reform that includes a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants already in the country and increased support for countries where migrants originate. The economic implications of the border crisis are multifaceted. On one hand, there are costs associated with managing the influx of migrants, including providing housing, healthcare, education, and other social services. These costs can be substantial, particularly for states and localities that are already facing budget constraints. On the other hand, migrants can contribute to the economy by filling labor shortages, starting businesses, and paying taxes. Studies have shown that immigrants, including undocumented ones, contribute significantly to the U.S. economy. In agriculture, construction, and service industries, immigrants provide essential labor. Many employers rely on immigrant workers to fill jobs that are difficult to staff with native-born workers. Additionally, immigrant entrepreneurs create jobs and stimulate economic growth. The debate over the economic impact of immigration is complex, with some arguing that immigrants take jobs from native-born workers, while others point to the overall positive impact on economic growth and innovation. The humanitarian aspect of the border crisis cannot be overstated. Many migrants are fleeing desperate situations, including gang violence, political persecution, and extreme poverty. Their journeys are often fraught with danger, and they may fall prey to human traffickers, suffer from dehydration and exposure, or face other life-threatening conditions. Once they reach the border, they may face lengthy waits and uncertain futures. The treatment of migrants, particularly children, has been a major point of contention, with reports of inadequate care and mistreatment in detention centers. Efforts to address these humanitarian issues include providing better conditions in detention centers, increasing access to legal representation, and ensuring that children are treated in accordance with international standards for child welfare. However, these efforts are often hampered by limited resources and political opposition. The plight of migrants, especially children, continues to draw attention from human rights organizations and the international community. The border crisis also has implications for international relations, particularly between the United States and its southern neighbors. Cooperation with countries like Mexico and Guatemala is crucial for managing migration flows and addressing the root causes of migration. The U.S. has provided aid to these countries to help improve economic conditions and reduce violence, but the effectiveness of these efforts is often debated. Additionally, there are broader geopolitical considerations, such as the influence of other countries in the region and the impact of global migration trends. It is a topic that evokes strong emotions and opinions, reflecting deeper divides in American society. As the country moves towards the next presidential election, the border crisis is likely to remain a central issue, with significant implications for policy, politics, and the lives of countless individuals. If you're left with more questions than answers, that's a good thing. This complex situation deserves thoughtful discussion, not easy sound bites. Keep researching, keep questioning, and keep forming your own informed opinion.